Hello everyone, thanks once again for joining me on the channel. Today is something different. If you're a regular viewer of this channel, you know it's mostly hot rods, hand grenades, hovercraft, ice cream trucks, Hemi swaps, coyote swaps, lifted trucks, lowered trucks. So in the midst of all of that, we're going to do this different thing. And let me tell you about it, it's pretty cool. I think you probably saw the thumbnail on this already. So basically what we have here is just a plain old sheet metal piece. And I'm going to end up cutting this teardrop trailer shape twice. And I'm going to build a miniature pedal car teardrop trailer. And this is for my buddy who has a kid who has a pedal car. It's vintage, it's rusty, patinaed, and he uses it at car shows. So they've converted it to electricity. So the kid just has a big knob shifter and he pushes it and the thing does little wheelies and it takes off. That's so cool, and they wanted a trailer for it. So let me give you a quick overview of this exact thing so you can see what it is. Here's a rendering I did. Now I've done a couple light drawings. This one is almost to scale. Keep in mind it's miniature, but we've got a bearing loaded caster. We're going to have a steel frame. We're going to have a door with a hinge. We're going to have Lexan windows. I might make them slide. I'm not sure yet. We're going to have a hinged top on the roof of the thing so that you can open it up and put in whatever you want. On a couple of the ones I've seen online, and I've only seen 3, one of them had this cool fin and these back windows that face down. I really like those, so I'm gonna borrow that and do my own version of it. And then back here on the tail of the thing, we're gonna have these little LED brake lights or running lights. So it'll kind of look like that from the rear, and this from the side. I'm gonna put this crazy graphic on it because I want to. Up here we're gonna have a little visor with another window. And then on the front, I'll probably end up putting some sort of box to give it a proportionately conformed shape. But that's sort of it. It's 28 inches long. It's going to be about 17 inches wide. And then we're going to start building it, and I'm going to have it done in this episode. One shot, one kill. We're ready to go. And before you say it, there might be a market for those. No, there isn't. But at any rate, there are a few if you look them up online. If you look up pedal car teardrop trailer, you're going to find 3 different pictures. And the problem I have with those, now they're done pretty well, they look good, but the problem I have with them is they're not proportionately correct to the vehicle. So that's the reason I chose this size. I got the external measurements from the pedal car that we're making this for. I took those measurements, I drew a rectangle on the ground, and then I drew another rectangle that was proportionate to the tow vehicle. Now that's the reason I came up with this size. I like the way they look. Those ones online, while they're done exceptionally well, the issue is they look ginormous and it just seems disproportionate. So that's why I have this, but today I'm going to be cutting this up. We're going to start welding the frame. We're going to weld a frame out of 1-inch 063 square tubing. It's very light. I'm hoping to not have a really heavy trailer. I don't want to drain the battery. So everywhere I can, I'm going to use bent rod. And I have to make a bunch of shapes here. You know, there's very little square going on here, and I only have a right angle bender. So a lot of this is going to have to be hand formed, and I need to do it quick because I'm on a deadline. This is already late. So let's get started. I want to keep it light. So the first step is going to be building the bottom frame, and I'm going to use these because this stuff is very thin. It's really light. And even if a small person were to sit on it, it would hold them up. So that's going to be the frame. And I have to figure out a way to make this curve. And I was going to use square tubing and cut slots in it like I've done in the past. And then the thickness of the blade removing material will allow you to bend this by hand in virtually any shape you want. But I only have this one piece. So that's not going to happen. I may go buy some cheap steel rod and tack it in place and bend it around something to get the shape that I want and then skin it in sheet metal. So first things first, I need to make 2 of these side panels, and that's the beginning of all of it. Okay, that escalated quickly, and in video, I'm sure you're like, how did he do this part and that part? Well, the boring sections, I didn't bother filming, I just tried to rush through it. But basically, I took the rod-shaped, 5/16 rod-shaped bend, and laid this on my side templates, marked it, trimmed them, and peened them over, tacked them in a couple of places and peened them over. That took quite some time. You don't have to worry about being perfect on this because I'm going to have this aluminum trim that goes all the way around it. This will get a little tight here, but I think I'll relief cut it and heat it, and it should bend. I'll screw or pop rivet it down. I also have some other trim that is going to go basically right here. I'm going to trim it round, and this will cover, it's going to give it a finished look. This is actually from a motorhome. Next, the door, the two hinges are stainless. I got them out of a box over there. This top piece is nothing more than carpet edge. You tuck tile or carpet underneath it, and that's your threshold, if you will. I trimmed a piece of that. This door was made from this. We took a motorhome and took the back out of it and made a hinged door so we could drive the quads and dirt bikes inside of it. Came out really good. You can see it on the channel if you go back and look at some of the other videos. But this I made out of the trim that was left from that job. So pretty easy. The door does work. If you unscrew this Phillips head screw, the door will open and close. But there's some sharp edges in there. You know, if you really need it open, you can open it. To the top, this is S-clip and this is drive clip from Furnace. I've done a lot of heating in the day, so I have a stainless piano hinge and a cabinet magnet so it stays shut. This knob is a 1930s faucet knob. I used to collect these back in the day, and I had a bunch of them, but I've given them all away because it started to be a box of junk. Kind of wish I had some of them though, because they've gone up in value. People are repurposing these. So inside, you could styrofoam line it. You could put your favorite cooler in there and spray foam it, and this would be an actual solid cooler. I am going to Dynamat the thing so that it doesn't sound like a rolling trash can. I'm particularly proud of these fenders. They look good, they're proportionate. This is spun stainless, and this was an old dog treat container that I saw was the right shape, so I cut it. I took the bottom, which was like a bowl, I cut it in half, tacked them on. So it's really good, I'm happy with that. I'm going to take and put a little rack here that's going to hold the battery. And I'm going to use part of this old bike rack that's going to be trimmed and bolted to the front of it so that it'll actually be just this part. But that's also, this hollow aluminum tubing is what these are. Trying to keep the light, trying to keep it as light as I can. This is an on-off switch that's going to be put in there so that you can turn the running lights. There's going to be two running lights here, and then on the back I have them in red. We're going to have 4 lights on the back. I'm going to put a fin here with 2 semi-round windows. I'm going to put a window here, I'm going to put a window here, I'm going to put a little window here, and that's going to finish it off. Once I trim it, it's going to be great. So let me get some more done. I'll film a little bit, and you can see this thing completed. Okay, well this power, it's only 6 volts, but these are low demand LEDs that are on here. So I think I'm going to put this right here because I kind of like the way it looks. I would paint it white and make it look like propane tanks, but enough is enough, right? This thing ain't that kind of deal. It has a really good rust forming on it from me wiping the oil, the manufacturing oil off the sheet metal. And I might leave this or I might enhance it. I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to enhance it. But we're just about finished with it. And the aluminum that I bought originally was very small, and while I like the look of this, I could bend it. I can make relief cuts in it and get it on there. But the issue becomes attaching it. After I bend it, I'll only have 1/8 of an inch to catch a little bit of flat metal, because remember, there's a 5/16 round bar in there, and you can't drill into that. So, I mean, you could, but it's too much work. So the deal is, I ran up and got some of this 1/2 by 3/4, which now, to show you, see, it's a little wider, and I can miss the 5/16 bar with 1/8 pop rivets on the top, so strategically placed. The goal there was to try and get rid of any of the welds, just because it seems to be the look, you know, always with the spotting weld, and that's cool, but not on every build. So let me get these on, wire up these lights, and a switch, and then I gotta add a little bit of sound deadening, which I have not done yet. Yeah, it's somewhere. I gotta get the sound deadening in there. It's a little rattly, but here, let me do this and that, and we'll be done with it. So what I ended up doing was washing the metal with muriatic acid and then giving it time to dry in the sun. This etches that pattern into the metal, and then once it's dry you spray peroxide on it, and peroxide causes this instant oxidization, which gives it this old look on steel. And I did sort of spray this up a little bit with primer to kind of dull it and match, because it was a little too shiny. But overall I think it came out great. That is it. There is power. You can illuminate the lights, and it's ready to go on the pedal car and win some car shows. Alright, another real quick special surprise for the channel. We're going to actually work on a GM product because you don't see too many of those around here. This is a 2012 GMC Sierra half-ton four-wheel drive with your plain Jane wheels and tires. He's got some other wheels and tires that he wants to put on it, but you have to do a leveling kit first, which means we got to get 2-inch spacers on top of these struts in there, right in there somewhere. That's a terrible picture, I know, but so at any rate, here's the parts. There are some directions. We're not going to read those. We're just going to jack it up and go for it. Let's see what happens. So I did read the directions for a minute, and it says to take the ball joints apart. So I instantly stopped reading those and took a quick look. And what I think we have here are lower strut mounting bolts. And then at the top, your strut mount bolts in from above on those bolts there. And I can get to them from the engine bay. So what I think is I just take those off and take those off, and I should be able to get that strut out. I don't see any reason to take the rest of this apart unless that sway bar is holding force, in which case we'll take the sway bar link. But let's try it. So I'm going to show you over here. The directions tell you to take the upper control arm loose of the ball joint and all this other crap. And honestly, all I did was take those top bolts off up there and these two down here, and I was able to push the strut in. Watch, I'll take it over to the side and show you. The guys doing it on videos, you gotta watch where you get your information, because I just don't see any reason to take all this crap off. Look, it's in my hands right now. Look, I can work on it. I can get it out. If I want it out, I can get it out. Alright, so we got one wheel on. We got the spacer in there, and as it turns out, all that huffing and puffing about you don't have to take this off and you don't have to take that off. Yeah, you do. We had to separate the upper control arm because while I got the strut out and I was able to get it back in, but the minute you add that spacer, you can't spread the control arms far enough to reconnect it. So you have to split this, and so what? Someone else was right for once. My buddy was like, you better delete that video. I'm like, nah, it'll be all right. Much better look. I mean, this here is still the problem, but you know, we won't talk about that. What do you torque them to? 500 foot-pounds? Only took 10 minutes, right? 10 minutes. And the final thing for the day is a door handle on a Dodge Ram. Because of him. We're done. That's it. It works. Button that up. I gotta go do anything but work on cars.